Hey, hello, I'm Victor Thompson. How's everyone? And I'm here today to talk to you about your business idea that you've been sitting on. So, if you've had an idea in your mind and you haven't done anything with it, this is your wake-up call. So, I'm going to share with you that there's a clear path, and I'll show you how. I like to put things in a system that makes it easier for people to understand what are some of the steps you need to take in order to be successful. So, as I mentioned when I came on, my name is Victor Thompson, and I'm the founder of Emergent Leadership Pathways. And I've been helping striving professionals like yourself with their ideas that they have finally launch the business that they've been sitting on and scale it with clarity, confidence, and the power to choose their path. So let's step back and let me just guess because, there's a number of different entrepreneurs that I've worked with. Uh, I, in particular, uh, am part of an organization that also delivers classes to entrepreneurs and to help them build their business plan. In addition to that, I'm also someone who takes entrepreneurs who have business plans and help them actually launch their business, as well as create breakthroughs for themselves as they actually get into situations of difficulty. And it doesn't matter if you're a solopreneur, if you are a small business that you are growing with employees, either way, there are proven ideas and proven methods for you being able to be successful. And I want you to be successful. When I first had an idea to launch a business, I sat on it and I sat on it for a while. And, some people I know, they've sat on it for, over a year. Some, in fact, there's one person I know who actually 10 years they sat on their business idea and they brainstormed, they talked about they were going to do this, they were going to do that. One guy that I actually tried to jump into business with once even had his half finished logo. He had a domain site. He was ready to go from all of the background things. But we never were able to launch because he always kept saying there's something else we need to do this. He's always waiting for the exact right time. He needed all the right things to line up. And whether you believe in God or whether you believe in quote unquote the universe, okay, let me tell you, nobody, God, the universe, no one like that is going to sit there and tap you on the shoulder and say, oh, now's the time. Now's the time for you to launch that business that you always wanted to launch. But I'm going to tell you now is the time to launch your business. So let's start off by first saying that people oftentimes don't launch because they feel stuck. I was there, I felt stuck myself. And what exactly is it that caused people to feel stuck? Well, in doing some research, I found that there are really three, yeah, that's three fingers, three common traps that people experience in why they feel stuck in trying to actually build their business. So the first one is that we seek perfection. And I say we because this is me also, right? You should know that this is actually the third time I'm actually doing this video. And the first two times there were PowerPoint issues. So it was more about me not actually having my PowerPoint arranged correctly, but the need to continually say, I need to get it just right. I need to do this. I need to do that. All the bells and whistles need to be there. That is not the case. And so today, when I recorded this, I'm not really ready, but that's okay. because I needed to be able to demonstrate that you don't need to seek perfection because perfection doesn't exist. Sometimes, like the friend that I was trying to get into business with, he needed to have everything figured out before we started. And so we would go to coffee, we would spend like hours on a Zoom call talking about the business, how we were going to do this and how we were going to do that. And man, we needed to see 1,000 different executions of the logo to get the exact logo that we really wanted to get. And I'll be honest, I was getting kind of exasperated and tired after a while. And that's because I realized at some point, you know what, we just need to move. And when it came to we just need to move, there was still more excuses and things like that that would come up. And I ended up going off and doing something else on my own, right? You know, we never launched that business because you can't achieve the perfect product, you can't achieve the perfect service, but you can actually launch something and then start to tweak and figure out what's going on along the way. But for you today, if you're stuck because you're trying to get just the right time, just the right pieces of information, just the right product design, I'm going to tell you to stop doing that. Stop tweaking the logo. Stop reworking your about page. Stop trying to design that perfect package because perfection doesn't exist. Now, the second reason why people oftentimes get stuck is they also confuse activity with progress. You know what? I've watched hundreds of videos. In fact, I was talking to another friend of mine yesterday, and we were on a call and we were talking about the fact that he said, well, I know that I probably spent hundreds upon hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, following videos and downloading paid guides, free guides, right? I even tried taking courses, to improve my effectiveness or improve my efficiency. But really, none of that does what you ultimately need to launch a business, which is build your confidence. And confidence doesn't happen without action. So activity is, as I have on the screen, refers to actions and tasks that are being undertaken. And it's not that activity isn't good. I mean, I have activity every morning when I go and work out I use this elliptical machine and I'm moving and I'm logging miles, but I'm not physically moving forward or making any progress. It's a stationary machine you know and progress is actually signified by forward movement and advancement of goals. So that means you actually have to take steps to move forward. And when I'm outside and I'm walking, I am actually making progress. I'm seeing things and I can absorb the environment and the atmosphere. And it doesn't mean that the elliptical machine isn't a good thing, right? I mean, this isn't the perfect example. But what it is that it's a idea that a lot of us will stay on the elliptical machine or the treadmill of life and not make progress. And without directional clarity and the goals to support your plan, you're not going to have a direction to move in. But even if you don't have really clear cut goals, really clear cut ideas of what is you need, if you start moving, you will start seeing. Let me get to the third reason most people feel stuck. And this is actually one that's the most death defying, is that it's fear. Fear comes in three different forms too. There's fear of failure, and that's like, hey, you know what? This isn't gonna work. and it kind of aligns with the perfection and the activity, is that if we keep doing stuff, we keep thinking that we're going to get somewhere better, but it inspires fear of failure to increase, because now, the closer and closer you get to this ideal service or ideal product that you're delivering, the more it becomes this thing of feeling like, if I'm rejected, oh my, the world's over. And that fear of failure then gets in the way, right, of us pursuing our success. The judgment part of it comes because we think people are going to say negative things. They're going to tell us why this isn't a good idea. And in some cases you do hear that, right? You hear family and friends saying, "Oh, you know what? This will never work," right? But if you sit back and you allow that judgment, and primarily the judgment of self, to get in the way of you actually launching your business, you won't launch your business. And then the last part of the fear piece is the fear of success. And people always say, "Oh no, I'm good. I can handle success." But really, a lot of us put excuses up in front of ourselves that says, "Well, you know what? What happens if this really is like, if it's really great, and I can't meet the demand?" Right? It's like, oh, that's such an awful problem to have to deal with, right? If you can't meet the demand today, then you'll figure out through your creative ingenuity how to actually meet the demand. So get over the idea, because anytime you're afraid of something, you stall. And the longer you stall, the more that fear grows. It doesn't get smaller, it gets bigger. Okay. So clarity, here's the truth of this: clarity comes through movement, not through inaction or meditation or anything like that. Okay. So I bring all this up, but let's shift the energy and let's talk about, okay, well, what is it that I've done now when I'm working with entrepreneurs to help them actually launch their business? And so I created this framework called Launch. And really, what this is just a simple memory technique to help you understand, how do I get from my idea to earning income and doing it in a repeatable way. So there's the 6 steps that you can see on the screen right now: launch and learn, activate your audience, optimize, nurture with focus, close with conviction, harvest with intention. So let's jump in and talk about each one of them. And I'll give you an example of a person that I know may be a good reference point for each one of these. And I do want to help you remember it. So I'm going to use names, like for instance, with Launch and Learn, I'm going to talk about Lachey. The L, Lachey, hopefully makes it easier for you to remember. So what's up on the screen says you should start messy, right? And what that means is, again, keeping in mind that perfection doesn't exist. You want to jump in and start doing things. And that might mean that I'm going out and I'm going to go show my prototype to somebody who might be a prospective client, or I'm going to present it to a group of people. I'm going to do a webinar. Right? Those are things you could do to just get out there and launch. Because then once you do that, you start to learn what's working, what's not working, and that you can start to make adjustments. So I had a woman by the name of Lachey who came into the entrepreneur class, and she saw when she saw that the class itself, because it's almost like a college course, right? It lasts like 15 weeks, right? But she saw the length of it and she was like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! I actually want to launch my business sooner than that. I want to launch." She's like, "So no offense, but I'm just gonna start doing stuff." She's like, I know I got to do the business plan, but I'm going to start trying to sell my services. And she had a social work background. So her goal really was was to help build shelters for women of domestic violence. So great cause. And what she started doing was looking for real estate right in the middle of class. Right? She was like, hey, I need a place. And yeah, maybe I don't have the money, but I need a place. So I figure it's gonna work out if I like just jump in and start doing it. That's pretty aggressive. But what she was doing was taking a step to do something and not just sit and try and get everything perfect. And sure, there were some missteps, but she learned from them. She learned that she needed to, get a, make a connection with a commercial real estate lender. She learned that she needed to rent out the first place as opposed to trying to own the spot for herself, because that just wouldn't be the best solution for her. So that's the L. The A is about activating your audience. Your audience is out there, and you just need to find out where they are. And what we talk about when we help people put together strategic business plans is that you really have to have a target market. You have to know who it is you want to talk to, and it helps you understand, here's the person I'm talking to. And so the thing is if you talk to the right people, if you identify your audience effectively, they are people who are already out there looking for what you have to offer, right? Because this is the group of people you're talking to. So you don't need to overcomplicate this. You just need to identify where they are. And then you need to tap into them. So there's an owner of a business that I did some consulting work for, and he was very strategic about that because he understood that as he was trying to grow his business and he adding a service to his business, he would always look at, who is it that I'm targeting? And what subset of my current customers do I have that I can actually go out to and I can offer it to? Right? Because even if they decide they weren't the right audience, they might actually know someone who would be the right audience. So it was really important to get that A down, because then I can activate the audience. So you're launching, you're activating, and then you're ultimizing. And let me explain it with ultimize. It's not a real word, okay? I made it up. You're right. But what it means to me is it means that you're going all in on one thing, maybe two, that you do best. Because what happens is when you go in on that thing, you're gonna get really good at it, right? If I offer 10 products, it's hard for me to make all 10 products work really well out the jump. But if I offer one, I can make that product be the best product. And then I can add a second product now that my first product is going well, and make that the best product, right? Because now I'm building and I'm learning. Remember, launch and learn. I went to visit years ago a friend, Ulysses, and we were hanging out Friday night. We were hanging out, and it was late. And he's like, "Man, I want some dessert. I'm hungry." And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds good, man. I could use some dessert, maybe a cup of coffee, that kind of thing." And he's like, "I know just a place." And so there's this little corner store in a city in Canada that is called Just Desserts. And let me tell you, that's all they serve is desserts. Now they do have coffee and bottled water, right, that you grab out of the fridge, but the desserts are fabulous because that's the thing that they do well. And if you learn their story, when they first launched, all they did was donuts. They specialized in that, and then they started making bakery cakes and things like that, and they refined their product line as they went. But the thing that they didn't deviate from is that they were just desserts, and they were ultimizing that whole concept. So you do those first three things, and now that you've gotten your audience's attention and you've pinpointed a product or service that you're delivering to them, you want to nurture them. And you focus in on the people who are in that audience, and you really keep showing up for them, giving them valuable content as frequently as you possibly can. And consistency is so key in business, that you keep showing up. Sometimes I used to get frustrated with how many times I would see ads running on TV, but then I realized that that's the way in which you actually get connected to the product or service that most appeals to you, right? So you want to nurture people and make sure that you create ways to follow up and show empathy for them and deliver valuable content. Not just any content, but valuable content. Then we move to C. So I met someone during COVID who helps people get speaking engagements. It was during the midst of COVID, and he told this story about how his business took off during COVID because he had to adapt. And what happened was that he used to always have to get in front of people, and he would be negotiating his rate. And when he had to start delivering on Zoom, he discovered the mute button, because we all have one, right? There's a mute button. And if you deliver your offer your service, and then you hit the mute button, he didn't have to be the first person to respond to his offer, but instead the person on the other end would. And surprisingly, more people were saying, "Oh, that's all," or "Oh, I would consider that." And it was because he didn't start trying to fill the space with words. So when you close, the big thing is you want to close with conviction. You got to believe in what you're offering, and do it in a way that you invite somebody to actually pay for it. You got to be bold there, right? That's going to change everything. Because if you're like most people, including myself, this is where you freeze. When I heard that story, it resonated for me so much, because being a coach and a consultant, I'd always talk about customizing my packages, and I would be trying to guess what the prospect wanted in order for me to get their business. And this taught me, no, no, no. Here's what I charge, and be quiet, right? Your momentum is really going to come from that first client, whoever it is you close. That's going to validate your idea and start to grow your confidence even more. Which takes us to the H, right? The H is about harvesting with intention. So now that you get your first client, right, you now can start to use that confidence to get more clients. And remember, you now have launched into getting that client and delivering that service. Now you're going to learn from that, and you're going to start to adjust, right? You're going to keep repeating the steps that made you successful. And those are the things that are then going to allow you to scale effectively. It's like you just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. I learned that from Hallie. She's a marketing consultant, and she would always talk to me about the idea of just completely diving in and tracking your targets. Knowing that email, for instance, is still the most valuable and effective measure for reaching out and talking to a client. But you want to talk to them, track them, and then make sure you make adjustments so you implement the right systems to capture the information and know that you're going to start being successful uh, with that launch. So yeah, I'm going to talk about Maya, and I thought it was important to give you a composite, picture of somebody. Maya is someone who had, took my the entrepreneur like business planning classes, and she finished her business plan, and then she did nothing with it. So she left the class having this beautiful document and great idea of being able to help professional women maintain their cultural roots and harbor their natural identities. And she was doing this through a consultative image boosting business that incorporated style, mindset coaching, leadership mentoring, and communities where you could build brave spaces. You also might hear people talk about psychological safety, but this was all about bringing confidence to the workplace, right? And so what was happening is, though, she didn't do anything with it. She had a job, she was a single mom, so very easy to put up a multitude of excuses, which she did, and that's fine. I understood that. But when she reached out to me and she's like, I still have this business that I really want to start, and I am struggling with getting it going. She's like, I have not been able to move through it. I've done little things, but I haven't gotten a client or anything. So I challenged her. I dared her to take some action. She was somebody who always hesitated around taking action. So I dared her first. I said, you know what you need to do, Maya? You need to take some action. I said, so we're gonna make an agreement, right? We agreed that she was gonna start putting her idea on a one-page piece of paper, showing it to every person she knew who could be a potential client. And so with her offer on paper, she and her like defining her niche, which really was BIPOC women on the cusp of professional breakthroughs, that helped unlock her ability to activate her audience. So she started going around and talking to people who she trusted that she could actually talk to. And then she also solicited her daughter. So she had a younger daughter who's great on social media. Maya really doesn't like social media. And what her daughter did was reach out on Facebook and places like that to ask people about this concept. Okay. So it was interesting because she got feedback and she got a client. But the feedback helped her optimize her product and service, right? She was able to narrow her offer down so that she realized what was the sweet spot was that she would offer a 3-month consulting package that included what she called fashion strategy excursion and be part of a Facebook group, right? Therapy sessions, right? To help people get through some of the angst that they might have in trying to adapt to the workplace and things that may have kept them from being truly who they are. So then she just started nurturing it. She started building an email list with the help of her daughter, and her daughter really was an engine in getting her really moving forward. And I said she had made her first sale. So when she made her first sale, it gave her a lot of confidence. And she used that technique I brought up earlier when I was talking about Chuck, the professional speaker. State your price and then you turn the mic off. Don't be the first one to speak. Just wait it out. And that's what she did. And boom, they're going to speak. So that was her close with conviction moment. And it was real, right? She had not just done this now, she also had a sale. She had income. And all of a sudden, she could just continually doing this. She developed an email with her daughter's help, and she started paying her daughter, right? And to really build up her brand online, which then turns it into something very actionable. So that was Maya. But what about you? She didn't quit her job to start this. She just needed to jump in and decide. So you don't have to quit your job either. She did have a business plan, but she didn't have the brand that was built. That happened over time and with the help of her daughter. And even if you don't have a daughter and you're afraid of social media, there are ways to be able to get out there and to get your name out and to get your brand built. So what really changed for Maya is that she built clarity and she leveraged courage to commit to taking action. And you can do the same thing. Okay. So if you're afraid to commit, just remember you don't need a perfect product to start. You just need a pathway. You just need to take a step, right? If you're stuck trying to, build too many offers, pick one. That's better anyway and optimize it. And then if you're afraid of offering your product or service and sharing what your price is, take a deep breath, present your offer, turn off your mic. What I want to challenge you with today is I want you to pick one. I don't care which one it is. Pick something from the launch sequence, write it down, and then take an action, even a micro action today, right? Just do it. And if you want to do it today, because guess what happens? You listen to this and then tomorrow you're going to forget. So do it now, do it today. Even if that means you're just calling somebody up on the phone and saying, guess what? I'm starting my business. That's an action. You now have somebody who can hold you accountable, right? If you're still thinking about it, though, you can download my free ebook. Even though this is a free ebook, and it breaks down a little more detail and gives you worksheets that you can use. Ultimately, free is not the answer. Because when you put money behind what you do, that's when you start to really get results because you got something invested. When you invest little, you get little. You invest much, you get a lot. And that's what you want to remember in your big takeaway. But go ahead, download that book. You can find out how you can link to get a phone call with me so that we can talk further about how you can build your business. So, again, I'm Victor Thompson. I'm the founder and owner of Emergent Leadership Pathways, and that's where we help business owners really find clarity to meet their courage and build a path of success that really gets them to where they want to be. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to talking to you soon.